Stop right there. Because if you're receiving SSI, SSDI, or Social Security benefits, what you're about to hear could directly impact your monthly income, starting May 1st. And the most surprising part? Millions of seniors still have no idea what's changing, even though these new SSA rule updates are already being prepared behind the scenes. This is not just another routine update. This is not a small adjustment that barely affects your check. What's happening right now is a major rule change that could either protect your benefits or quietly reduce them if you miss one critical detail. And the problem is, most people won't realize it until it's too late. If you receive SSI, there are new changes to asset limits and reporting rules that could directly affect your eligibility. One small mistake, something as simple as not updating your information on time, could trigger an overpayment notice and reduce your monthly income. If you're on SSDI, new earnings rules and work limits are being adjusted, and if you're not aware of them, you could accidentally cross a threshold that puts your benefits at risk. And if you're collecting regular Social Security retirement benefits, there are updates to COLA calculations, earnings limits, and payment rules that could change how much you receive, either increasing your check or quietly reducing it, depending on your situation. Here's what makes this even more serious. These changes are not affecting just a small group of people. This impacts millions of Americans who rely on Social Security income every single month. And right now, many of them are already contacting SSA offices, confused, stressed, and trying to understand what just changed. In this video, I'm going to break everything down step by step. What exactly is changing starting May 1st? Who is affected the most? The deadlines you cannot afford to miss, and the exact actions you need to take today to protect your benefits. So before you assume this doesn't apply to you, make sure you watch carefully, because one small detail could make a big difference in your financial future. So now that you understand how serious these upcoming changes are, the next thing you need to know is this. Not every update affects everyone in the same way, and this is exactly where most people make a costly mistake. They assume that if something doesn't sound relevant at first, they can ignore it. But with Social Security, that approach can backfire very quickly, because many of these changes are connected, and even a small update in one area can create a ripple effect that impacts your benefits in ways you didn't expect. Let's start with SSI, because if you are receiving supplemental security income, this is one of the most important updates you need to understand right now. For decades, SSI has had strict asset limits. Individuals were generally limited to $2,000 in countable resources, and couples were limited to $3,000. These limits hadn't changed in over 30 years, even as the cost of living continued to rise. That meant many seniors and individuals with disabilities were forced to keep their savings extremely low just to remain eligible. Even setting aside a small emergency fund could put their benefits at risk. Now, with the new rule changes, those limits are finally being adjusted. On the surface, this sounds like great news, and in many ways, it is. It gives people more flexibility and reduces the pressure of having to stay below outdated thresholds. But here's the part that many people are not paying attention to. Along with higher limits comes stricter monitoring. The SSA has upgraded its systems, and they are now much more effective at tracking financial activity. That means if your records don't match what you've reported, it can trigger a review. And this is where overpayments become a serious issue, because once the SSA determines that you've received more than you were supposed to, they don't just ignore it. They take action. And the way overpayments are handled has also changed. In the past, the SSA would typically recover overpayments by withholding a portion of your monthly check, often around 10%. While that was still difficult, it was manageable for many people. But now collections can be more aggressive depending on the situation. So if you ever receive an overpayment notice, this is critical. Do not ignore it. Do not set it aside thinking you'll deal with it later, because there is a limited window to respond, usually around 60 days. If you act quickly, you may have options. You can request a reconsideration if you believe the overpayment is incorrect. You can also request a waiver if paying it back would create financial hardship. But these options only exist if you take action on time. Now let's move to SSDI, because if you are receiving Social Security disability insurance, there are also important updates that you need to understand. SSDI is designed for individuals who have worked and paid into the system, but are no longer able to work due to a disability. One of the key rules here is something called substantial gainful activity, or SGA. This rule determines how much you can earn while still qualifying for benefits. With the new updates, the SGA limits have been increased. This means you may be able to earn more income without automatically losing your benefits. And for many people, that's a positive change. It creates more flexibility for those who want to try returning to work, even part-time. But again, there's a catch. Everything must be reported properly. If you start earning income and fail to report it on time, the SSA may assume you were overpaid. And just like with SSI, that can lead to repayment demands. This is why understanding the rules is only part of the equation. Following the reporting requirements is just as important. There are also work incentives built into SSDI that many people don't fully understand. One of the most important is the trial work period. This allows you to test your ability to work for up to 9 months without losing your benefits, regardless of how much you earn during that time. After that, there is an extended eligibility period where your benefits can continue depending on your income level. These programs are designed to help people transition back into the workforce without immediately losing their financial support. But if you don't know how they work, you may never take advantage of them, or worse, you might accidentally violate the rules. Now let's talk about those of you receiving standard Social Security retirement benefits, because there are also changes here that could affect your monthly income. One of the biggest factors is COLA, the cost of living adjustment. This is the annual increase designed to help your benefits keep up with inflation. But as many retirees have already experienced, even when COLA increases your check, rising costs can quickly cancel out that benefit. In addition to COLA, there are updates to earnings limits for those who are still working while collecting benefits. If you are below full retirement age and your earnings exceed a certain threshold, a portion of your benefits can be withheld. Once you reach full retirement age, that limit no longer applies. But until then, it's something you need to monitor carefully. There are also changes related to certain groups of workers, particularly those who had their benefits reduced under previous rules. Some of those provisions have been adjusted, which means certain individuals may now receive higher payments, sometimes even retroactively. But again, this only happens if your records are accurate and up to date. And then there's Medicare, which is closely tied to Social Security for many retirees. Premiums, income thresholds, and adjustments can all affect how much you actually receive after deductions. Many people don't realize that changes in their income can impact their Medicare costs, which in turn affects their net Social Security payment. So when you look at all of these changes together, one thing becomes very clear. This is not just a simple update. This is a combination of adjustments that affect multiple parts of the system at the same time. And that's exactly why it's so important to stay informed and proactive. Because at the end of the day, your Social Security benefits are not something you want to leave to chance. They are a key part of your financial stability, and even small mistakes can have long-term consequences. And in the next part, we're going to go even deeper. We'll break down exactly what actions you should take right now, how to protect your benefits step by step, and the most common mistakes that are causing people to lose money without even realizing it.